Hello, everybody. My name is Barry Johnson. This is Studio Talk. So today we're going to talk about should you upgrade your studio to OS X Ventura. So let's talk about a few things before we necessarily get into that. Ventura brings a lot of really new, compelling features. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the more feature-rich operating system upgrades that we've seen for a while, at least for my interest and things that interest me. So, all of us kind of go through this every time there's a new operating system from Apple. And so before I really talk a little bit more about that, I feel I have to always address this, why I never seem to understand. But there are going to be folks that are going to watch this video and just see the title of the video, not even bother to watch it, and say, there goes Apple again, with a new operating system, and it's a disaster. That's why you should go on Windows. You should, the fact that they come out with new operating systems so frequently, and then for some reason, these Windows users think there's always compatibility issues. Sometimes there are. The majority of the time, my experience, there has not been any, okay? And I've been on a Mac since 2005. And so before that, I was on Windows, and I've built a lot of Windows machines. Well, for those of you Windows users out there, you are horribly misguided on your understanding of all of that. There have only been two OS X that I can remember over my 20-something years of using Macs. There's only been two times that you were kind of almost compelled to be forced into that new operating system. And the first one was when Apple went from the IBM processors to Intel back in 2006, okay? That was the first time. The second time was 2 years ago when you went to Apple Silicon. If you bought a new Apple Silicon computer, which they're incredibly compelling, but if you bought one, you had no choice but to go to that operating system. And so in situations like that, I always recommend hold off, be patient. But unfortunately, the transition going from IBM to Intel was a heck of a lot smoother and more efficient from third-party vendors, of which Apple has no say-so about, okay? But when Apple Silicon came out, that was a complete redesign, a complete way of doing things radically different. And so there were companies out there that really drug their feet for a long time. You've got companies like Avid, as an example, that still, well over 2 years later, do not have an Apple Silicon approved or certified version of Pro Tools. Now, for the record, Pro Tools works perfectly fine on Apple Silicon and Big Sur. So it works perfectly fine on that. But I'm talking about certified. So it took longer than any of us like to expect it. So you Windows users, if you'd like to complain about that, okay, I think you've got a valid complaint. But again, your complaint is not with Apple. Your complaint is with the third-party vendors. Now, you could say to yourself, well, okay, you don't have to upgrade. And that's one of the things that you don't seem to get or don't choose not to want to get. But you don't have to upgrade. We're going to actually talk about that today. As a general rule of thumb, what's important for everybody who does DAW work, and especially if you're in a situation where time is money or time is really important to you, right, and other people are involved, my recommendation is always to never, never, never upgrade your OS X until it has a proven track record. Based upon my history and experience with that could be anywhere from 6 months to a year on average. Let's face it, the majority of new features that come out, and Ventura falls under that category, are not really geared towards anything that affect us in the audio world. DAW manufacturers are typically always a little bit slower because they want stability for their users. There's nothing worse than trying to jump into it too quick. Many have done it, and many have paid the price where their users revolt, okay? So kind of understand that. If you're an Apple hater, please just maybe, if you're really a hater, just kind of stop watching this video and go on, okay? But if you're interested, check it out, because the same thing applies to that. You can be on the Windows side and go for a decade with really no real reasonable good features, whereas every year or so, you're going to get new features, okay? But you can make a choice whether to go that. So today's question is, what should you choose considering OS X Ventura came out earlier this week. There are some features in Ventura that are advantageous to the audio workflow, but I can tell you this. I have several Macs here in the house. My main studio Mac is always going to be behind. I'm never going to upgrade that until I know everything is working. But I've got the luxury of having multiple Macs in my house because I got a lot of kids, big family. And so I was able to install OS X Ventura on an M1 Mac Mini that one of my kids use. And so I was able to kind of test that out and see how everything was working. And here's what I can tell you right off the bat. Don't go there. Don't go there. I was hit with issues right out of the gate. Surprisingly for Apple, I couldn't even get Final Cut Pro to launch properly initially. It took me a while, some workarounds, but they did immediately come out with a new patch for that. And I think I missed one of the drivers that I was supposed to download for that. So that ended up being more operator error. But most users don't actually do the backstory on it and just want to blame. So understand that. Some of my plugins got through the authorization process, okay? And then a good chunk of them just locked up. I mean, locked up, all right? And so ultimately, because I'm testing this, I would have to take those particular plugins, move those over to a folder on my desktop, delete them from my library so that they were no longer needed to be checked. I can always move them back later. And so I checked that, and then I was able to get through. But once I was through both the Nuendo, Pro Tools, and Studio One somewhat, I had issues start to pop up that I hadn't seen in a while that I have to imagine have to do with this transition, okay? So my advice to you that, some of us, and if you're like me, you like grabbing those new features as soon as you can because I'm a geek when it comes to that stuff, all right? But most of you who are experienced and have been doing this a while, when I mean a while, over 10 years, you have learned to take it slow and easy on operating system upgrades. Slow and easy, okay? But many times, and I certainly have been that way in the past, I would jump off the bridge into the deep water and then struggle staying afloat, which is kind of where I'm at initially with Ventura. Now, this is not necessarily that uncommon at times to have a few little things. Usually it doesn't relate to the DAW. Usually the issues are with plugins. And so sometimes this will happen occasionally. And so, but Apple historically, when it comes to that, has been really good about patching certain things to be able to help their vendors be able to approve and get their stuff certified. So at least where Apple can. The rest is up to the plugin manufacturer, the DAW manufacturer, or whatever software you're using. And so I will be honest with you, I have truly enjoyed Ventura from a user's experience. And a lot of these features I'm really digging a lot, okay? And this video is not about those features. You can go look into it and see for yourself, and that's going to vary between your workload, your workflow, I should say. All of us kind of use things differently for different reasons. But my advice to you right now is do not upgrade to Ventura yet. Understand, but if you choose to make that decision to the upgrade, I've warned you, and you may have a perfectly good experience because we all have different plugins. We all have different DAWs. Some work better than others. Some have issues more than others. Okay, if you choose to do that, make sure you back up your operating system and all of your files on your system drive, okay? Make sure you do that. It's always best to do a fresh install and not the upgrade when dealing with audio. You can have issues if you just use the upgrade. It's best to wipe your computer and do a fresh install. That is the way that you have the greatest chance of success in having an operating system that talks fluidly with your applications and plugins. So if you do that, understand. But if you jump into it and you have problems like I did, you're going to be wasting a lot of your time because it's time consuming to now re-wipe that drive and restore from a backup. And God forbid you have a problem with a backup. I've got a video where I had a major problem with a backup and I had to reinstall everything, every plugin, every application, all the settings, had to redo all of that, and it took an entire day. And so that was a major pain in my butt. So if you choose to jump into that water, don't you dare, if you've watched this video, blame Apple, because it is not Apple's fault. It's your fault because you just couldn't wait, all right? And so, again, as a general rule, those who've been doing this for a long time know, wait. If your system's working, why mess with it? Why mess with it? Leave it alone until there are reports in online forums and other places by users, not by companies, by users who are actually being able to confirm, especially in the DAW and the workflow that you do, that they're not having any issues anymore, or if the issues are minimum. Look, in the digital audio world, you're always likely to potentially come up with issues now and then. It's just the sheer nature of working that way. So I've told you where I'm at, right? I've told you what my feelings are. Now you can make the choice whether that's something you want to do or not, all right? But I can tell you that once they do get it worked out, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with a lot of the features in this. Also understand, if you're contemplating buying a new computer, as an example, Apple is expected to release the updated 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros, and also introduce a 27-inch iMac before the end of the year that will be M2 Pro and M2 Max potentially powered. And so that's the next evolution of that. So that is right around the corner. Please understand the way it works with Apple. If you buy a computer, whatever operating system they're on at that time is the latest operating system you can use. In other words, you can't go back to a previous system, even though it worked on the previous model. You just can't do that. And I'm not a big fan of Apple doing that. That is something that I would have legitimate criticism for. I think there's a time that's necessary and a time that it's just not. But regardless of that, I don't get to make that choice. So know that if you go buy one of those new MacBook Pros, either 14-inch or the 6-inch or the 27-inch iMac or the Mac Pro when it comes out, understand you're going to get that with the most recent version, which is Ventura. So think about that before you buy it. Wait until the things are ready and then buy that computer if that's what you're planning on doing. Otherwise, stay right where you are if you can. You should never upgrade a computer until you absolutely necessarily have to. Anyway, that's a waste of your money, because this is the thing that's going to keep repeating as long as you keep doing this every certain amount of time, and you want to make sure you get your full mileage out of that computer. So something to consider. All right. So if you like the things I talk about on this channel, do me a favor, hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell. Help me grow this channel. Really like to reach out to more people. I do this to help people. I don't do this for any other reason, which is why I'm always going to say it like it is. And yes, I piss off a lot of audio companies out there from time to time, but I'm a straight shooter and I say it like it is, and I don't do sponsorship. Okay, so anyway, hope you have a great day. Leave some comments down below. Tell me what you think about this, and we'll get on with our lives and just be happy people. So until next time, hope all of you have a great day. Bye-bye.